So this is the cover of the memory book I'm making for my brother. In the meantime, I have a playlist for this memory book. So if you want to see how I made this, you can find the link of the playlist down below. It's not glued together yet. Wanted to keep my options open on where exactly to place it because I didn't know if I would need extra space here for some sort of binding, which I still haven't decided on. And I have been procrastinating concerning the structure of the book because I could not make a decision on what I wanted the structure to look like. Mostly because I was overwhelmed with the amount of things that need to go into this book, the amount of writing I have to add from friends and family, things that I received. And also I wasn't sure what size to print out the photos and what to print them on, etc. And I can't really move on, even though I have made bits and pieces, until I decide on the structure of the book. So this morning I woke up with a decision, finally. So I'm going to be making a similar construction that I have used in these two books. There are playlists for both of these linked for you below. This one here was a design team project for the Digital Collage Club. It's a little travel journal. And as you can see, I have these fabric pieces here in the middle that I have sewn into signatures. And I really like this because the pages are very easy to turn. And because I have the feeling it makes the book very interesting, it gives me a huge variety on the shape of the pages. Like I like that these all have different shapes because it kind of makes you want to explore more what's behind the other page. So it's great to have something like this as inspiration. And then this one has a similar binding. This was a journal I wanted to do using my own digital kit. This one, as you can see, has a hardcover. But it has the same system here. We have the fabric. I think here I only always have 2 pages for one signature. And again, I just love that every page kind of has a different size and shape. I love seeing the sewing on the fabric. I really had fun with this journal. So again, refer to the playlist if you want to see how I made this. I really go through this step by step, every step of what I do in this journal and how I put it together, how I make the cover and everything. So I think that's what I'm going to do for this one. This seems to be the style I gravitate to currently. So as you can see here, my pieces of fabric that I used to bind the single elements together are different heights as well. So here we have a short one, then we have one that's almost the full length. Here we have, again, the short one, obviously that's the other side of the first page. Here's like a medium-sized one. There's a smaller bit again. So we have a nice variety, which I think creates a lot of interest. So that's what I want to do. So I will take this as my reference. And then I'm going to go through my treasure box of designer fabrics and choose some that might be fun for this project. I want the vibe of the book to be very eclectic. So I chose these here for my short list, which are way too many. I will again have to go through them and take a few out, I'm afraid. I love all of these so much. So this is a mixture of Tim Holtz, Marsha Dursey, and Ebond. Oh, and also Seth Apter. It's so hard to choose because I really, really love them all. And I think they all go together. Somehow, in a weird way. These are definitely too much. So I will again have to go through these and choose a few, and then I will tear them down. And I always need 2 that are the same size. We need one for the front and one for the back, into which I can then add the papers onto. You see here I have, so there's the front, there's the back side. These 2 pieces have been torn the same size, and in between I put whatever papers I want to put. It doesn't have to be the same here on this side and this side. I guess it makes it a bit easier. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. But once I have those torn, I then need to go around them. I mean, this is optional. I like the look of this sewing. So I then go around each piece. In this case, I went around 3 times. I might do that again. But each piece separately. So I will do that for this piece here. And then I will do that for this piece here. And later on, we're going to glue those onto whatever substrate we choose. I hope that makes sense. This is going to take a while because this book, that's the next challenge. I have no idea how many pages this book is going to have. With a book like this, it was easy for me to randomly choose how many pages I wanted it to have. But with a memory book where I received all the photos and the written papers, I need to include what I received. I have no idea how many pages that's going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to be a thick book because of how much I received. So maybe I should use all of these because it's going to be huge. So I guess I'll just start, make some, and then we'll have to make more if I need more. I'd like to share my thought process with you at this stage. So I have torn 16 different fabrics in various sizes. And then I realized I don't know how to attach all the writing that I received. So this is the amount I have to include. So that's not even taking any photos yet into consideration. This is a lot. I think the best way to include these, because some have like 5 pages, some have 1 page, some have 3 pages. They're all different, but they all have the same paper size. Thankfully, my sister-in-law made sure that everybody used the same paper format. And I think the best way to do this is to use these envelopes. These are made for these A5 papers. I've already made one. And on the back side, I have a huge photo of my brother and his wife. I can't show you that, but I can show you this side. So I've done some fun embossing here. This way I can add all of the writing in these envelopes. There's 25 people that wrote something here. So I'd need 25 different envelopes. And I can always add photos, of course, on both sides of the envelopes. And I can just add the envelopes using these fabric pieces. So I would have them like this, and then I'd have another envelope here, and they would be bound in the middle. And then I would also have separate pages because there are more photos that I could then add on different kind of papers, and I need to figure out what those would be. But I would definitely want to make them like not all the same rectangular size. I want bits and pieces to have different sizes like I have here, you know. You see how some are torn and they have bits sticking out. I want that kind of a look. And I'm not going to get that only using these kind of envelopes, because there's not much I can add here. Of course, I could add little bits of fabrics to the sides, not this side because this has to open, but to the other pages I can. So this is a super interesting and challenging project, as I knew it would be. So I think my next step has to be to get 24 more envelopes, coffee dye them. I don't even think I have that many envelopes. I would have to order these. But in the meantime, I can definitely sew around these, which is going to take forever. So it's 16 different fabrics times 2, because we have 2 pieces of each. Math, 32. 32 pieces, and each piece I'm sewing around, I think 3 times. Oh my goodness, what am I doing to myself? I just had another thought. In true junk journal style, instead of ordering more of these envelopes, let's use something we already have. For example, packaging paper. And I think I also have other beautiful papers that I could use for this, and make our own coin envelopes. The advantage of that is not only that I can change the direction of the opening, because these of course will all open to the side, but this way I can have them open on the top. And also I can vary the size, because some of these are only 1 page, like this first one. I could fold it and make a smaller coin envelope so that I have more variation within the book. It is going to be more work, but on the other hand, I don't need to coffee dye this, so I don't know what is going to be faster in the end. But I think this will also give me more variety of papers and sizes in the book, which will make it more interesting in my eyes. So let's make 1 coin envelope together. So I think the biggest challenge is to get a straight rectangle, because obviously packaging paper is going to come in all kinds of weird shapes and sizes. So I do have a straight edge on top here, at least. That helps. And then I am unfortunately going to have to measure. I just love that for me. So I can take this as a guide. We'll need some space for a flap on the top and the bottom. So the top one I want to make longer, maybe like this. What is that, like maybe 1.5 inches or so. And the bottom one can be a little shorter, so let's say I'll do 30 centimeters. And as far as the width goes, it needs to be, of course, double of this plus a little extra for the overlap. This I have to cut away because it's torn. So we start here, and we need 2 of these. And then we need a little overlap, so we can cut it here. So then I need to make a straight edge here where it's all wonky. I might totally regret my decision to make my own coin envelopes, because I have the feeling making 24 of these is going to take forever. I will also see if I can find some junk mail envelopes in that size that I can use. That way I don't have to buy new ones, but I do have some that are already constructed for me. Yay, we have a rectangle. So the rest should be fairly straightforward. I'll fold one side over. And then the other side, have a bit of an overlap. Let's see if that's wide enough. Yeah. Then we open those again, and in the middle part here, we're going to cut like this and like this. This is going to be our... That was wrong. Oh my goodness, I haven't made these in a while. Okay, this is going to be our top flap because I made it so long now. What I should have, of course, done first is fold these over so that I know where my flaps begin. My goodness. this one as well. This is going to be our bottom flap. Very essential step here. Okay, so now we know how far to cut. So I cut right to my line. Then I can cut the 2 outer flaps off. And I'm going to again cut at a little bit at an angle. So we have this on top now. And we'll do the same thing for the bottom. It's going to be a lot more narrow. You can of course have the bottom flap as wide as the top flap, but I don't see the need. At this time I'm cutting straight. Okay, we have our shape, so it will glue together like this. So I'll ink around all of my edges. Okay, so once all the edges are inked up, I can just glue the parts together. We'll start with this middle part. And then we just close the bottom flap. So there's our first coin envelope, which of course needs to be decorated. What have I gotten myself into? I'll show you once more in fast forward with a smaller piece. So I folded one of the letters in half, just in case you need to see it again. This time I'll make the flap on top a bit differently. So I'll cut straight here, right where the fold is. Again, I'll cut the top flaps off here on the sides with a little bit of an angle. I just think, first of all, it looks nicer, and second of all, it's easier to take something out if they are slanted just a little bit. And this time for the flap on top, I'm going to fold this in half without actually folding this part. I just want the corners to meet, and then I'll just cut them like that. This way we have nice round corners. Okay, so there's number 2. Time for an update. It's about 10 p.m. now. I'm quite exhausted. I've been working on this project most of the day. So I have all of my fabric pieces sewn. That definitely took a moment. And obviously there were some hiccups because, you know, me and sewing. Like for example, where is it? Oh yeah. Look at these. I'm crazy stitching here on the back. The front is completely fine. I realized that the top thread wasn't in the guides that it needs to be, so it made these funny loops. So this is done, thank goodness. And what took probably even longer is making 25 envelopes, actually 24, because this one I already had. So let me go through those with you. And I made 2 even smaller ones because I figured some of the 1-page letters I can even fold smaller. So these are from my recent jelly plate session. That video is linked in the playlist for this memory book below. This one we've done together on camera. This here is also packaging paper. I love these a lot. So these are just prints of a stencil that was saturated with, I think it was walnut stain, after making this large envelope with packaging paper. like these more than that for sure. Then I have 4 made from music sheets. This is from one of the books that my sister-in-law gave me to play with. I made these 2 using some of the decorative papers that we made together. This is also part of the playlist. Then I have 3 for which I used some of my own digitals. These are from the Tattered Papers digitals. And as you can see, I added some stenciling on the flaps. Then I found some already coffee dyed chunk mail envelopes, and I thought I could also use this size. They are obviously, I would be covering all of this stuff up, whatever is there. Then I made one using this beautiful Tim Holtz tissue paper. Another junk mail envelope. Another packaging paper envelope with some of my tattered paper glued on top. Oh yeah, and then I have 3 more that were already coffee dyed for another project that I ended up not using, onto which I added my decorative papers that are in the playlist below. Not sure yet what I'm going to do with the back sides, but at least I have the fronts covered. That is all that I'm capable of doing today. I need to unwind a bit and then just go to bed, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. So it's the next morning and I want to connect these envelopes. These smallest 2 I'm not going to connect because these are going to go on other pages. So we can put those aside. But I did notice one thing I did not consider is, because I decided to make smaller envelopes spontaneously, I now don't have enough shorter pieces of fabric, because when we look at these bigger ones, they're going to be too big. You see here, they're just a bit too long. So I only have 4 sets of fabrics that will work with my smaller size envelope. And I have 12 small envelopes. So rather than sewing more fabric pieces, I'm going to add the 8 envelopes that I don't have the correct size for onto pages as well. So I can only do 4 envelopes with the smaller bits. So I need to choose those. So the 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have these 2, and they don't always have to be the same size to connect them. They could be one longer, one shorter, and then you just take fabric pieces that are the height of the shorter envelope. So let's take these. So I'm going to use some glue. I have a jar of water here, adding just a little bit of water to make it spread more easily. Then I'll add some glue onto the envelope. And adhere my strip of fabric. And then I'll add glue on the other envelope. You see, I have quite a bit of a gap here. You also see that it's crooked. That's fine. We won't see that in the end. So this gap here will give us some flexibility as to, is this the most inner part of the signature, or do we put it a little more on the outside? We can decide that later. And of course, we want to also add another envelope, my goodness, another strip here. But first I will wipe this glue off, because that is not so pretty. I like both sides to be covered. Okay, so we have our first hinged piece done. And I will continue doing so for all the other envelopes. Maybe it's even easier to just do it like this. That should save some time. And I just realized I can hinge more envelopes because of course each hinge takes 2 envelopes and not just one. You know what I mean? And if you added too much glue, like it's peeking out here, for example, just take a cloth and gently wipe over that, because we don't want any glossy glue showing on the edges. So that's second set done. And I can pick 4 more. Yay! Let's take these 2 and these 2. And then I can do the same thing for the large envelopes. Here I'm going to pay attention to having the flaps on the outside so that we can easily put something in here and take it out. And also because these are basically as big as my cover, I will have to put these very close together, just leaving a small gap so that they can easily bend, but I don't really have a lot of room there. Okay, so I'll continue doing that with my other large envelopes as well. So I have 9 of these double pages now done. This is really going to be a very chunky journal. Look at this alone, and there's nothing in it yet. Oh my goodness. I hope it all works out in the end. Then I have these 2 left. I have 4 of these envelopes left, and I have this junk mail envelope on which I just added a few scraps to cover up the company name. So I'll have to put these on pages. And then I decided I'm going to use these pages from the 12 by 12 Tim Holtz memoranda paper stash. These are the only ones I have left. And I will cut pieces so that they're a little bit smaller than my book cover. I wanted to stick with the same paper pad. And the great thing, of course, is that they are double-sided, so I don't have to worry about adhering papers to each other. So I'll get 2 more double pages out of these, and I will need more. I will need to figure out what else I could use as pages. After cutting these down, I realized I actually can get 8 separate pages out of these because I wanted them a little more narrow, so that I have a little more space here for the fabric. So that gives me a little more flexibility in where to put these in the signatures. So I'll do the same thing with these. So I have all 4 connected, all 4 double pages. In total, I now have 13 of these segments, which is not a great number because we can't split it into signatures easily. I still have 3 sets left, which would give me 16. So if I decide to add more papers, I would have an even number, and then I can easily split it into 4 signatures with 4 of these in each signature. But for now, I will just try to put these together randomly. I'm sure they won't stay in the order I'm putting them together now, but just so that we kind of have a feeling of what this could look like. So I will be putting together 4 signatures with 3 of these in each, and 1 signature will have 4. That's totally fine. So I'm going to add large one. Put this one over it. And then we can add one of these pages inside. And let's add another small one. Maybe here. So this is a signature with 4 double papers. The other 3 signatures will only have 3. Now I see now that I don't like that, so I will take the small one out because I want a small one in the front of each signature because I really like this layering. So I'll take another one for the inside here. I do have one left, okay. Okay, I think I miscounted because 2 of my signatures have 4. It doesn't matter. This is very similar, so I don't want to have these together. Switch these around. That's better. So there's 4 signatures. Let's take our covers. That's the front. That's the back. So we have some bits sticking out here on top. Some of these are a little bit wider. An open spine would actually be nice for this one, right? I have no idea yet how I'm going to bind these. I will figure that out once I know how thick this is actually going to be. I think it'll become at least double because I have so much paper to add and photos. This basically has nothing in it so far. I don't know how much of the next steps I can show you because it will involve all of the photos. And those are private. I hope I can give you a flip through of the finished book in the end. Maybe I can cover up the faces somehow. I need to figure it out, but first I need to figure out how to add everything to these pages. I'm thinking I have to be quite strategical about this because I think I want to add everything chronologically, and also like I want to keep all the ones together. I can't do both at the same time. So I need to decide, am I going to go chronologically or am I going to add like all the same people together? For example, I would start off with photos of my brother and his sons, and then I would have maybe photos of my brother and his wife, and then I'd have photos of my brother and his siblings, so my other brother and myself, and so on, and then, you know, other family members, friends, as we continue. Or do we go chronologically? The thing is, chronologically, I don't have all the dates of all the photos, so maybe I'll just keep all the same people together as much as possible. So that's where I'm at. I feel a lot less anxious now that I at least have some sort of a structure to go by. And I might also change this photo and put a photo of my brother here instead. Hopefully this gave you some sort of inspiration for a project you might want to start. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!